Lonzo and Dusty, if it wasn't for Straight Outta Compton movie and Super Bowl props, would any of those guys ever acknowledged you?
Cube acknowledges me all the time. I think those are the biggest platforms that I have been on outside of most of the documentaries. Dre, I'm in Defiant Ones with Dre. I'm in Welcome to Death Row. I'm in 32 different documentaries when it comes to hip hop and hip hop related situations. So I've always gotten recognized. I think those were the biggest platforms that I was able to get a personal up close and personal situation that was undeniably mine. You know, the part about the Straight Outta Compton scene, you know, that was me 100%. Although I was never the asshole, but you know, I'll take that if it's going to change my life the way it did. And Super Bowl, that was just hip hop history right there.
That will forever go down in history. Let's jump into that Boss Talk 101 interview. I had a few things that I heard that I would like for you to elaborate on your channel for our audience. You said, I had 4 DJs. I ran my club like a radio station. Can you kind of explain that and also explain what went into your thought of giving each DJ their time slot? You know, who got the 6 to 8, who got the 10 to 12, whatever the case is?
Well, people forget I was a radio trained DJ. That's how my training class went. We had different shifts that we had to come in for, and we had to be there a half hour early. And we would sit. It was a little, not really a fake radio. It was a fake radio station. All it was we broadcast in this little shopping center that the class sat in, and we also recorded it so we can get the feel for how a radio station was ran. And that's what I knew. So for me, I knew the weaker jocks always had the early shows and the late shows. The better jocks had the prime time. And for the first few months of Eve After Dark, I always had the prime time. And then I gave up some of my time to Dr. Rock, or Yella got it. And that was just how I ran the club. We were open in the beginning from 9 to 5 in the morning. Ain't one dude gonna do that. One dude can't do that. The Eve was open for a long time. Then we opened from 10 to 4, and sometimes 5, depending on what was going on. We had a big after party. We'd open to 5 o'clock in the morning. Many a day, the Eve After Dark was open. It was still rocking, and it was dawn outside. No bullshit. No shit. No bullshit. So you talking about 10, 11, 12, 1 to 12, 1 to 2. You're talking about 6-7 hours of DJing, dude. I could do a 5-hour set by myself if I have to. I've done it. I just did one about a month ago. I played the whole party by myself. But again, I'm trained to go long distance like that. I'm a marathon DJ. I'm a house party DJ, so I can play 4 or 5 hours. But you don't want to do this every night back to back because you're gonna burn yourself out. So when you got 4 or 5 cats that can play, let them play, and just listen to them to make sure they're not repeating the music, to make sure they're not getting burnt out. Sometimes people get into a loop and they only play certain records every damn night, and you have to break that monotony.
You mentioned that Dre was great. Dre was the most talented when Boss Talk asked you, but Dre couldn't rock a party for hours like Yella could. Can you explain that, and also explain what it went into DJing a club or a party for 5-6 hours?
You have to pace yourself. Dre was always good for about a good 45-minute set. Yella knew how to program a set and go for 2 hours. Same thing with me. I mean, again, as a house party DJ, you can't play all your hits before 10 o'clock. And you can only play certain records. You can only repeat certain records, and you learn how to keep people going. And if you really care about what you're doing, you'll learn how to keep people on the dance floor. It's not about what you want to hear. It's about what's going to move the crowd. And once you realize you have a certain kind of crowd, you program your music to that crowd. Most cats don't know programming. They know mixing, they know scratching, they know blending, they don't know programming. So they'll play some records that sound good for the mix, but the audience don't give a shit about it. So you mixing your ass off. You sounding good, but ain't nobody jamming because they're not familiar with the song. The song blended beautifully, and you even had a little brief orchestration back and forth with the orchestration, but nobody knows the song. So, and that's one of the things that a lot of young DJs today, they're more so in trying to impress people with their skills as opposed to keeping the party going.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so you DJed before. What goes into, how many records do you have to bring? How long do you play each song? Are there certain time? No, you talked about 12 midnight was a hot spot for certain songs. Break down a little bit more of what went into being a DJ.
Well, back then, dude, you had to have at least 15, 20 crates. Okay. You had to have, because everything was doubled. You had to double everything because a lot of records came, they were short and you had to mix them together and extend them, especially 12 inches. You had to play, my format is I played older music from 4 or 5 years ago in the early part of the evening, familiar stuff. I don't play nothing outside the top 20. Even today, I don't play nothing outside the top 20, or it got to be a hometown favorite. It has to be a hometown favorite, something that everybody in this area likes. Okay, I try to stay within the top 20 of different eras. This way, you don't get a lot of radio hits. There's records that people love on the radio, but they don't do shit for a party. They don't do shit for a party. You can play them all day long. Anybody gonna dance to them. Now, if you put them on, people gonna bop their head. They're not gonna get up. And when you're trying to rock a party or a club, you need stuff that people are going to dance to. And again, most DJs don't understand the difference.
I'm gonna bounce around, but I was listening to Keyshawn Johnson's interview. We talked a little bit about that last week. He had Eazy on, he had Arabian Prince, and he had Michel'le. And it was a very good interview. And he mentioned something, one of them mentioned something that I found interesting. They said that aside from the early days of performing at Skateland, Dudos, etc., that N.W.A. never performed in Los Angeles. Does that sound right to you?
They couldn't.
Break it down.
They couldn't, dude. They blew up so fast, and they came with the gang element, dude. Dudos gave them Dudos of Skateland. Everybody was homeboys. Everybody was from Compton, Eazy from Compton, although he was on the blue team.